Hi, this is Joe again with another movie review. And for the sake of this video, I'm going to be discussing the 1980 movie, The Blue Lagoon. And of course, this is also one of those movies that hasn't been reviewed all that much by fellow YouTube movie critics, so I figured, hey, we'll bring ground on this thing. Because the original, because there are other versions of The Blue Lagoon, which I might touch on later on. But the original film stars Brooke Shields and Christopher Atkins, and they play two kids who get shipwrecked on this island in the middle of the Pacific. And they actually got shipwrecked by a third guy, uh, by a third person, or should I say, along with a third person, and who, of course, was a bitter old guy who was like a cook or something. And the thing this kid said, don't go on the other side of the island. Uh, Not sure what the name of the island was, it was never really mentioned in the film, but there were like natives on the other side of the island. Instead of maybe going over there, maybe getting some help or getting them a boat to get to civilization. They didn't. They never did that because they figured, oh, these guys are real scary dudes, and so we're not going to go over there. So I tell these two kids don't ever go on the other side of the island. And also it tells these kids about these particular berries who are the dino on, and if you eat them, you go to sleep. It means you couldn't say you're going to die. Even though I really want to scare these kids, we said, oh, we're going to sleep forever. And of course, the guy in the cook, of course, he eventually dies, and the two kids goes up to be Christopher Atkins and Brooke Shields. And of course, at that time, Brooke Shields was smoking hot in those days, and he was, not saying she does not smoke hot now. But at that time, of course, she was a model. She posed in Jordache jeans, the famous Jordache jeans commercial. I'm sure the commercial is up on YouTube. We're not Jordache, Calvin Klein jeans, I think it was. And no one gets between me and my Calvins. It implies that she's not wearing any underwear, but she's wearing her jeans. Anyway, she was also famous for being on those uh, Bob Hope Christmas specials, and of course she was a model as well, and also dated Michael Jackson too, for about all 30 seconds. And so of course this movie came around in 1980, so of course it was Blue Lagoon was a big deal because she was a teenager at the time, and of course she's using nudity. But the rumor of course also was that she used a body double. You did not see her own body. I don't know how in the world they could do that with the technology you had in 1980. You don't have CGI back, not quite yet. To fall back on in 1980, you didn't really have it, at least not yet. But you do have a lot of applied nudity to say that there is a pretty big, long love scene between her and Christopher Atkins. But mostly see Christopher Atkins' body and not hers, which is a real huge, for me, it's a huge disappointment. Anyway, the two kids ended up falling in love with each other. No, to me, it's unclear exactly what kind of relationship they were. I read different things. They were cousins, or that they were just best friends, or they were brother and sister, and you really, really don't know. It says that they ended up falling in love with each other and started doing it. About halfway and 3/4 of the way from the film. Of course, it was implied that when Brooke Shields was growing up, she was in a little pond, and she began her first period. And of course, Christopher Atkins freaks out, saying, you're bleeding." You know, there's a clip of that scene on YouTube. And of course, later on, when they start having sex, and then of course he says, "Hey, how come?" And the name was like Emily. Said, "Hey, Emma, how come you don't want to do it anymore?" And he said, "Well, because my stomach hurts." And I mean, of course, it means that she was, of course, pregnant, and she does give birth to a baby, in the movie. And of course, there's one infamous scene where she's holding the baby in her arms, and I don't know how to feed it. And of course, the baby just begins to suck on her boobs. I mean, every male's teenage fantasy at that time. And I know it's in a weird area right there. and but the baby was breastfeeding on her. And of course, says, huh? And her jaw drops. I can't believe this is happening. You know, her eyes bug out and stuff like that. So I can't believe what this kid is doing. And of course, eventually they decided, hey, the natives on the island are coming in closer to where they were at. After all those years that the natives coming together for some crazy reason, they decided to leave the island. So they could have done that way earlier when the older guy was still alive, and it was like Putty or Patty. Uh, they could have done it years ago. Kind of like almost like a full like version of Gilligan's Island almost. It's like, hey, they spent all these years on the island and never get off. Same thing with the Blue Lagoon. They said, hey, when we finally get out of here, and they finally built a boat or raft strong enough to get off, and when they did, they were out in the water for like days, possibly even weeks. They ran out of water, or fresh water. They ran out of food because they brought food and coconuts or whatever. And they started to run out of that, and the only thing they had left was the so-called berries, or poisonous berries, that this old man warned them against. So of course, what did they do? They had no choice, but they all ate these berries, to get food, and of course they all passed out. Now, you all think that the three of them, Brooke Shields, Christopher Atkins, and the baby, would be dead. Well, a couple of minutes goes by in the film, and all of a sudden, hooray, a ship comes along and finds them. And of course, one of the members of the crew, I don't know if it's the captain or one of the people on the crew, gets down into this little boat where the three characters are. He says, another member of the crew says, are they dead? He said, no, they're just asleep. And that's how the movie ends. You know, it implies that you don't really know if they've been asleep as in dead sleep or lifetime sleep, or they just fell asleep on the boat or whatever. So it's kind of implied. You don't know exactly what happened to these characters, and you never really, you know they made other sequels, which we're going to get into in a second. But with these three particular characters, you never really knew what happened to them. Well, 10 years later, you actually had a sequel called Return to the Blue Lagoon, starring Mia Jovanovic in kind of similar role as the Brooke Shields role. And of course, I forgot who the guy was in the sequel, but this movie is almost exactly the same as the original one, other than the fact, instead of them leaving and falling asleep on the boat at the end of the film, in this case, people actually came to the island and found them. And said, hey, we could rescue you. And they already had a kid already at that time. And discovering sex and all that type of thing. Almost exactly the same thing as he had in the original Blue Lagoon. But of course, the thing was that they decided that Mia Jovanovic and the guy in the film, the guy who comprises the Christopher Atkins role, decided to stay on the island and don't go back and say, oh, this is what civilization is, and so we don't want it. So that's pretty much what Return to the Blue Lagoon is. And I know that they made a third version, another remake of it, and just that movie totally tanked in the box office, and nobody was interested in this thing because more people had more of a fondness for the original movie with Brooke Shields, because at least you had Brooke Shields in it. And if they're going to just copy it again, you already had one sequel already, and that was a bust. When you make another one for Blue Lagoon for? Because like I said earlier, people have fondness for the original movie because people like the two actors. People are crazy over Brooke Shields and just as crazy for Christopher Atkins. You know, Christopher Atkins' career pretty much went nowhere after this movie. And of course, Brooke Shields went on to bigger fame for being in other movies, TV shows, being in, like I said, with all the Bob Hope Christmas shows, and dating Michael Jackson, and getting married, and having a couple of kids, and having a little feud with Tom Cruise with the post-bomb depression stuff, and it's that type of craziness that went on Brooke Shields' life. But Blue Lagoon is the movie that Brooke Shields is most famous for. I think she also did another one called Endless Love, which actually did a nude scene in that. Uh, and it also does a graphic of a sex scene as she did in the Blue Lagoon. But unfortunately, as I said, the rumor that she used a body double. I don't know if that was true or not, but she used supposedly also used a body double of Blue Lagoon as well. So I don't know if that's true yet or not either. But of course, in the Blue Lagoon, of course, as the years go by, when this movie came out in 1980, and this is of course now, so doing this video 2016. So of course, always see the problems in a movie like this, and saying, "Can't believe these characters are dumb. I can't believe that the two cousins or whatever having sex." I mean, there's more graphic to see who got the win, because Ashley and Melanie were supposed to be cousins. So, but Melanie Hamilton didn't look as hot as Brooke Shields was in this movie. And I still think Brooke Shields is hot 36 years later, but getting off point. But the Blue Lagoon was a I would say it was a good movie, but not a great one. And I mean, it did have a good story, and you see where it was going. But I think that because of the sequels, and the one sequel and the one remake, I think those two movies can't taint the original, because it does have a. I mean, it was a pretty good, like love story between the two of them, and you can't recapture what was in the original film with Return to the Blue Lagoon and the remake. You couldn't capture it. I mean, it was a movie that came out at the right time, the right actors, but the other ones just didn't do so well. I mean, the sequels were pretty bad. And of course, if you see the Blue Lagoon enough times, you're gonna say, "Oh, this movie stinks too." Because I always keep in mind on the sequels more than the original one. Even though I saw the original one first, but it's still, yeah, it is a pretty slow moving film, and you know where the movie's going to go, and thankfully they go off the island. Of course, like I said earlier, you don't know what exactly happened to these two characters at the end. You don't know if they were actually dying or they were actually asleep. They had like one of the lamest last lines in the film in this thing, because you don't. Oh, they're just asleep. Are they really asleep or are they actually dead? You really, unfortunately, really don't know, because if they made a sequel with these particular characters followed up after that scene, then you can say how they lived in civilization and try to make that transition. That probably would be a little more interesting than the bit they did in Return of the Blue Lagoon. They would put more of an interesting premise for a sequel, but unfortunately they never really made one. Not even a TV movie version of it. You never really did it. So that's my review of the Blue Lagoon, released the Blue Lagoon movie series. Please click on the video, please rate it, feel free to comment on it. Please subscribe to my channel, and please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. You can check out all of my videos not only on my YouTube channel at rowdyc.com, that's all WDY.com, that's the homepage of the Rowdy Reviewer, Christine Moore. Please check out all of his content, not just his TV trash reviews, his wrestling mark stuff, but also all of his other content on his website as well. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.